What's up everyone, it's your girl Shay here and I'm back with another video for you guys. And as you can tell by the title, I'm talking about the kinda sorta new Pokemon Mewtwo Strikes Back movie that's on Netflix. And I say kind of new because the original Pokemon the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, came out back in 1999 when I was like 9 years old. But now it's basically re-released or been re-released on Netflix, but the animation is kind of different and there have been some changes to this movie, but I decided to check it out for both nostalgia reasons and to kind of see what changes, if any, were made to this movie. So I went to this movie completely blind, didn't know really what they might have changed about it, and not knowing about the voice actors who were in it, it was original ones or different ones or anything of the sort. So this video is going to have spoilers in it, but I feel like it should be warranted. This movie came out like 20 years ago, so sorry if you still haven't seen it. But pretty much Mewtwo Strikes Back is basically about the origin story of Mewtwo. Starts off with the origin story of how Mewtwo basically was created, Mewtwo trying to figure out kind of like who Mewtwo really is. You get your first look at the Pokemon Mew as well. And then basically Mewtwo sets out to basically try and find the strongest trainers to have them battle him to see if they are truly strong enough to beat him. Ash and his friends go to this mysterious island. They also are there with a couple of other trainers, and basically Mewtwo makes a copy of all of their Pokemon and basically pits copies against the originals to pretty much see whom is the better one. Ash kind of shows Mewtwo the way of that doesn't matter, pretty much clones or original, they're still Pokemon, and Mewtwo basically goes off on his merry way. That is pretty much the entire movie. I know I probably blew through some parts and so on and so forth, but that's basically it. But the only thing that I could come up with after hearing about this movie, because granted, I saw the trailer for this new Pokemon movie way back in 2018, and when I found out it was coming out, my first question was why? Because I didn't feel like it was actually needed. I mean, Pokemon the first movie came out in 1999, and I thought it was a wonderful movie, and I actually haven't seen Pokemon the first movie since I was like in college, because I decided to watch it to watch something mindless to take my mind off of finals. But it was a good movie, so I was wondering, why did they do this again? And the only thing that I could come up with as to why, without me like doing any research online, is pretty much that they wanted to reach the younger audience, because I don't know if the younger kids that are still into Pokemon have ever seen Pokemon the first movie, or if they've only seen the current movies that have now been released. But that could be the reason why, because I for one have not seen Pokemon the first movie or the Pokemon movie 2000 or the Pokemon 3 anywhere on a streaming service. I've only seen the more recent Pokemon movies out on streaming services like Netflix and also Hulu. So maybe that's why they decided to do it. But I was kind of thrown off by the animation, because Pokemon in the first movie looked like this, and this new Pokemon movie looks like that. That was the only thing that really kind of threw me off. But I will say it didn't hurt the movie, to be honest. It did take me some getting used to at first, but it wasn't bad. And I think what was helpful with that was the voices. The voices sounded very similar to the original first movie, although I will have to look this up, but I was told by my fiance that the voices in this movie are actually portrayed by the new people that are voicing Ash, Brock, and Misty in the new Pokemon series. So it's not the original voices. I couldn't tell the difference. I thought it sounded fine, so that didn't throw me off at all. The only voice that I noticed was very different was Nurse Joy, whom is the Nurse Joy that is kidnapped by Mewtwo and brought to the island. She is the only character whose voice I found kind of different, and that's how I kind of figured out that they might not have brought on all of the original voices. Also, if you're someone that was a huge fan of the original soundtrack, it's nowhere in this movie. The only song that I could say kind of sounds very similar to the song that was played in the original movie was the Pokemon theme song, which was originally sung by Billy Crawford, was I believe was his name, and it sounds similar to him in this one. So I'm curious if they kind of, you know, brought on the original soundtrack, just that one song for this movie, but I don't really know. But also the rest of the movie did not have any of the songs I have played before. It didn't have Brother My Brother. It didn't have the song We're a Miracle by Christina Aguilera that plays at the end. That is one of my favorite songs. So it didn't have any of those songs in there, which kind of made me realize that they probably weren't able to get rights to the original music, which was why they basically didn't have them in the movie. But if you're someone that's never seen the original Pokemon the first movie, I'd say you should definitely check it out. And if you don't check it out, definitely check out the soundtrack, because I used to play that soundtrack all of the time. So definitely check it out. I think you will enjoy it. But overall, the movie wasn't bad. I mean, it was basically just like the original Pokemon the first movie, but there were some scenes that had been changed. One of the scenes most notably that I kind of noticed was kind of changed was the laboratory scene, which is where Mewtwo basically is first born. In the first movie, sorry, my voice. In the first movie, when you first see Mewtwo basically created, the lab is very dark. But in this movie where they showed the lab where Mewtwo's first created and talking to the scientists, it's very brightly lit. So that was one of the only things that I could actually see was a stark difference. But everything else was mostly shot for shot from the original movie. But I will say there were some dialogue that had been changed, and that was kind of the only thing that I was like, hey, they didn't really say that in the original one. But I was just being nitpicky at that point, but that was pretty much about it. The only other thing I will say is that while watching this movie now at 29 compared to me watching this movie at 9 and then once again in like my early 20s, I can honestly say I don't see Mewtwo as a villain anymore. And I think that's because when you're a younger kid, and I remember watching this when I was 9, I thought Mewtwo was a complete villain. Yes, he was a strong Pokemon, and yes, I did want to catch him in the game, but I did feel like he was a villain in this movie. But now at 29, I actually understand what Mewtwo's kind of trying to talk about. The main reason why Mewtwo kind of did the things that he did was because he didn't understand why he was created, and that was the only thing he really wanted to answer to. And when he got that answer was that he was only created from the DNA of Mew just to see if they could do it, and then also further later on told that he was made to basically fight other Pokemon trainers and to fight for humans. That kind of made him get upset and blow a gasket. So you can't really blame him for that. So I greatly understood where exactly Mewtwo was pretty much coming from, because I feel like all of us question our existence at some point in our lives, and I feel a lot of us that are older also question this, like, why do we get up and go to work every day? Why am I here? What is my purpose? I mean, you see it all the time in books, on TV, in movies, someone always trying to say, find your life purpose. So I feel like Mewtwo is basically doing what all of us in our 20s have done at some point, or even our 30s have probably done at some point. So now I kind of understand where Mewtwo is more so coming from. Do I agree with how he did it? No. But do I understand what his thought process was? Yes, just a little bit more. But overall, I will say, if you haven't seen this movie on Netflix, I do say check it out. It is a great thing to watch for nostalgia reasons if you have watched the original Pokemon movie as well. And if you're someone who knows someone who's newly into Pokemon, also have to check it out. But I do have to beg the question of, since they did the first movie like this, are they going to do the Pokemon the movie 2000 like this? And will they probably do the same thing with the Pokemon the movie 3? I'm just curious, because those are the 3 movies that were actually released into theaters, and the other movies subsequently that came out after the 3rd one were all released straight to video or straight to DVD or straight to streaming. So I'm curious if these first 3 movies, like they did with the first one, are they going to do the same thing with the 2nd and the 3rd one? And is it just because they want to reach a younger audience? Since when those movies came out, a lot of those kids that saw those movies are now adults. So I'm just very curious if that's something that they're planning to do, but ultimately we don't know, so we'll probably have to wait till later to see if they decide to do this. But I want to know now from you guys, what did you guys think of this movie? Did you check it out? Did you also wonder why they decided to come out with this in the first place? Did you enjoy watching it? Were there certain aspects of the movie that you missed from the original that they should have added into this one? For me, the only thing I could say was the soundtrack, because that soundtrack was dope, but they didn't add it in. But comment down below and let me know your thoughts about it. Also, let me know if you're going to check out this movie in the first place. But that's all I have for you guys. Of course, like always, I will leave links down below to all my social media accounts, my Instagram, my Twitter, and my blog as well. Of course, please give this video a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you haven't already. And share this video out if you think someone else will enjoy this video, or if you enjoy my content, also be sure to subscribe. I know a lot of you guys are not subscribed that do check out my content, so just subscribe. I would really enjoy it. But also, I will see you guys with a new video on Monday. Ooh, this is my Saturday video, sorry. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Like I always tell you guys, stay positive, stay nerdy, and in today's comment, still please wash your hands and stay healthy. All right, you guys, bye.